She did not come to be seen. She came because a man she once carried out of combat had no one else. But after a judge tried to shame her, the truth shattered the room. The nurse in the back row was a Medal of Honor recipient, and the defendant was a veteran, barely surviving the war he had brought home inside him. This story is devastating not because of the heroism alone, but because it shows how healing begins when someone refuses to leave you behind.
"Take it off," Judge Kessler ordered, his finger aimed at the woman in the back. The silence shattered as every head turned. His gavel fell like a gunshot. "Remove it now, or face contempt." Her expression was a calm mask. Her eyes met his as she spoke. "It is authorized, Your Honor." His error was immense. He was berating a national icon, and a man of great power witnessed his tirade. If you like this story, follow for what's next. Comment with your town. I'm curious how far this travels. Her phone vibrated at 6:14 a.m., but Emma Colton was long awake. 4 a.m. wake-ups were a battlefield scar her body kept. On her Spartan mattress, she drank black coffee and took the call. "Emma, it is me." The man's voice was thin with strain. "They grabbed Danny last night. He is in the county jail." Emma set her mug down gently. "Which station?" "Norfolk PD. They claim he assaulted someone." "Emma, that is not him. Not unless pushed." "I know," Emma replied softly. "I know exactly what occurred." The caller was Maria Ruiz, his sister. For 3 years her calls were a desperate refrain for aid. Emma always took her call. "He has his arraignment this morning," Maria said, her voice tight. 9 o'clock. I cannot be there, Emma. I am in Texas. He is all alone." Emma closed her eyes, feeling the panic stretch over 1,000 miles. She envisioned Danny at the VA, his hands shaking too badly to sign papers. "I will be there," Emma promised. "Emma, you do not have to." "Maria, I am going." She hung up and pulled her work scrubs from the closet. Her 12-hour shift started at 700 hours, but she phoned the hospital to take a personal day. The head nurse was shocked. Emma had not missed a shift in 4 years. She gave no excuse. None was needed. Dressed, she saw her reflection, a 46-year-old with weary eyes. No makeup, hair tied back. She opened a small velvet box. Inside was a star-shaped medal on a blue ribbon. She pinned its familiar weight over her heart. It had been years since she last wore it. Not since they called her a hero, and she insisted she was only doing her duty. But this was a different kind of war. This was for him. Her old Honda, with 200,000 miles, took her to the Norfolk court. She put 4 quarters in the meter and entered. The place throbbed with tension. Lawyers rushed past families wearing masks of fury and dread. A guard barely looked as he waved her past. She was just another nurse, utterly anonymous. She slipped into courtroom B, sitting in the rear. The room was nearly vacant. Lawyers murmured, a clerk rustled papers, and 2 bailiffs stood bored. On the bench sat Judge Harold Kessler. She was ignorant of the man, of his nickname the Hammer, or of the complaints against him. She did not know he once made a 19-year-old witness cry. She knew none of this, but her lesson was beginning. The first case involved petty theft. The lawyer barely spoke before Kessler sliced him off. "Guilty or not? I am on a timer." The attorney hesitated. "Your Honor, we are asking denied." "What is his plea?" "Not guilty, Your Honor." Kessler glared. "Trial is March 15th. Next." The process took 30 seconds. This was a factory, not a court, Emma observed. She watched the grim parade in silence. A DUI case lasted less than a minute. A domestic dispute was even briefer. The system was cruel. He cut people off, dismissed them, and bullied them, confusing his robe for a crown. Then the clerk called Danny's case. Number 7421, State versus Daniel Ruiz. Emma sat taller. A bailiff brought Danny in. The orange jumpsuit dwarfed him. He was in cuffs, with a dark bruise on his cheek. He seemed broken, but Emma recognized the soldier beneath. She knew that guarded posture. She knew those eyes, which scanned the room just as they had once scanned the desert. Sergeant First Class Daniel Ruiz, Marine Corps, retired. 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 Purple Heart, a TBI, an honourable discharge, and now a pair of handcuffs. He did not spot Emma. His gaze remained fixed ahead, a holdover from his service. He stood with a public defender who looked fresh from law school. Judge Kessler saw only an orange uniform. Mr. Ruiz charged with assault. "Your plea?" The lawyer rose. "Not guilty, Your Honour. We also request reduced bail. Mr. Ruiz is a Marine veteran." "A veteran," Kessler repeated, his tone full of acid. "As are half the men I sentence. It is no pass for violence." The lawyer flushed. "Sir, I did not mean bail is $50,000. Next case." "Please, sir. Mister. Ruiz cannot post," I said. "Next case." Danny was quiet, his head bowed, accustomed to being dismissed. It was then Kessler's gaze found Emma. He saw the medal. The small star on its ribbon arrested his attention. He froze. His eyes narrowed. Leaning over the bench, he pointed. "You, in the back. Stand up." Everyone looked. Emma rose with quiet dignity. "What is that on your uniform?" Kessler barked. "It is a medal, Your Honour," Emma stated evenly. "I see that. Which one?" "The Medal of Honour, Your Honour." A quiet gasp filled the room. The clerk looked up. A bailiff's posture straightened. Kessler's face went rigid with anger. "The Medal of Honour," he scoffed, his voice dripping with disbelief. "They give that to nurses now? I require nothing, Your Honour. I was only answering your question. Take it off." The order was sharp. The room went still. Emma was motionless. "Your Honour, I am authorized to wear this award." Kessler's gavel cracked against the wood. "That was an order. I will not have stolen valour in my court. It is a disgrace." The accusation lingered, aimed at a nurse, not a typical hero. Emma's jaw tightened. "Respectfully, sir, this was earned for actions in a combat zone." "You earned nothing," Kessler snapped. "You are a fraud. Bailiff, if that medal is not gone in 30 seconds, arrest her." The closest bailiff tensed, his conflict visible. He glanced at the judge, then at the medal on Emma's chest. Recognition dawned in his eyes, the look of a man who had served. He did not budge. "Bailiff!" Kessler bellowed. "Are you ignoring me?" The officer chose his words with care. "Sir, I believe that medal is authentic. I do not care what you believe. I gave a command." The bailiff took a step, but her steady gaze stopped him. It held a stillness forged in a hell the judge could not imagine. He halted. The large courtroom doors swung open. All heads snapped toward the sound. A man in a full navy dress uniform strode in. 4 stars adorned his shoulders. He stood with immense presence, his face like iron. The clap of his shoes on the marble floor was a rhythm of command. He walked down the aisle, his eyes fixed forward, a man who had stared down demons and won. He stopped before Emma and said one name. "Iron Widow." Emma closed her eyes, then nodded once. "Admiral." The man turned to address the bench. "I am Rear Admiral Thomas Callahan, United States Navy Special Warfare," he announced, shocking Kessler silent. "The woman whose honour you just questioned," the Admiral continued, "is retired Chief Petty Officer Emma Colton." He told the court she had served with SEAL Team 4 and received the Medal of Honor for dragging 3 wounded Marines, including Daniel Ruiz, through a 400-yard kill zone. Under relentless fire, she killed 2 combatants with her sidearm while shielding a Marine with her body. Though shot 3 times, she provided aid until every man was safe. The Admiral stepped closer. That medal was not stolen. It was paid for in her blood, and the blood of the men she saved, one of whom you currently have in chains. He nodded toward Danny Ruiz. Danny's head jerked up, his gaze locking with Emma's. In that moment, all his defences, the silence, the apathy shattered. Her call sign formed on his lips, a broken sound. Iron Widow. Emma met his eyes with the same firm nod she gave him a decade ago when she promised he would make it home. I found you, Danny. The file fell from the public defender's grasp. The young lawyer stood stunned, unable to process the scene. Kessler's knuckles were white, his face ashen. The gavel on his bench was now just a piece of wood. Before he could find his voice, the Admiral spoke again. I was not supposed to be here. A former SEAL called 30 minutes ago and said a judge was slandering Chief Colton. Callahan's gaze was steel, pinning Kessler to his chair. I have answered to Congress and advised 4 presidents. I've seen caskets draped for men who sacrificed all. Never have I seen such a sickening lack of respect as you've shown. A woman in the gallery started to cry. I came from the Pentagon, Callahan continued, because some duties are unconditional. Defending her honor is one. He turned to Emma. Chief, you will not touch that medal. Not for anyone. Defiance stiffened Emma's spine. I know, sir. The Admiral's lips formed a rare smile. There's the Iron Widow, I remember. He refocused on the judge. I suggest you re-evaluate your conduct today, Your Honor, in this matter and others. I guarantee no one present will forget, and neither will I. He stepped away, his presence earned through service, not granted by rank. His authority was rooted in knowing the woman in the gallery had earned her decorations. Judge Kessler sat on his bench, struck silent for the first time in his tenure. The courtroom was suspended in time. At his table, Danny Ruiz wept, tears tracing paths on his face as he gazed at the woman who rescued him from 2 separate hells. The time was 9:27. Nobody moved. The silence was pierced by the hum of the lights and Danny's ragged breathing. Judge Kessler looked stunned, his mouth forming words that made no sound. His eyes darted from the Admiral to Emma, then to the bailiff who ignored his command. For the first time in 15 years, Harold Kessler was speechless. The public defender, Sarah Chen, broke the spell. She knelt, her trembling hands making the scattered papers rustle as she collected them. Rising with the file, she saw Danny differently. She had gotten his case 45 minutes prior, knowing only his name. Now she was representing a man pulled from gunfire by a hero. She felt completely lost. Danny's bruised, tear-streaked face remained fixed on Emma. He blinked, as if needing proof she was real. Emma, he mouthed. She gave a slight nod. Stay seated, Danny. This isn't finished. He obeyed instantly. It was not an order, but a statement of fact. When Emma Colton spoke, you listened. The last time she'd commanded him, her voice was all that kept him breathing. Admiral Callahan held his position, his eyes locked on the judge. The ribbons on his uniform told a story of service, confirming his right to be there. Kessler finally spoke, his voice a fraction of its normal power. Admiral, I honor your service, but this chamber is my— Your Honor? Callahan's voice cut sharply. I am not here to give orders. I am here because a good man was shamed. I have made my point. What happens next is up to you. Kessler's jaw tightened. His hand reached for the gavel, then pulled back. He scanned the gallery, meeting dozens of stares. An older gentleman in a Marine Corps hat shook his head, his expression one of cold contempt. Your Honor. Sarah Chen's voice was suddenly clear and firm. In light of this, I move to reconsider bail for my client, retired Sergeant Daniel Ruiz. He has a Purple Heart for a TBI, sustained in the same attack that nearly took his life. For a decade, he has battled post-traumatic stress, let down by the very system designed to support him. This event was a trauma response. She didn't need the file anymore. Sergeant Ruiz reacted on instinct when a man grabbed him from behind, and rather than receiving help for his crisis, he was incarcerated for 12 hours without a single phone call. A fissure appeared in Kessler's composure. "The woman present today," Sarah went on, "is here because my client's sister called from 1,000 miles away, where she is at their dying mother's bedside." Chief Colton was the only one who answered. "She came here, with that medal, not out of pride, but to demonstrate that the man you see in restraints is a casualty of war. He was failed by the system and by this court." The charge landed with the impact of a blow. The 5'3" attorney stood her ground. Callahan offered a small, appreciative nod. Danny looked down at the table. He clutched its edge, his knuckles white, struggling to contain a decade of suppressed trauma. Kessler's eyes fell on Danny, seeing the man for the first time. "Sergeant Ruiz," Kessler began, his voice gentler now. Danny looked up. "Is the Admiral's statement accurate? You were deployed to Helmand Province?" Danny's throat constricted. "Yes, Your Honor." "And Chief Petty Officer Colton saved you?" Danny glanced at Emma, who stood like an immovable pillar, the medal a bright point on her chest. She gave no sign, just her unwavering stare. "She did more than save my life, sir," Danny's voice cracked. "She gave it back to me." A woman in the gallery gasped. The man in the marine hat bowed his head. "I was 22, Danny whispered. He spoke unprompted, the words pouring out. "At 22, I thought I was bulletproof. We all did. Then the ambush hit, and my world went black. A round took my leg, another my shoulder. I was on the ground, bleeding out in the dust. The room was deathly quiet. Then she was there. 1 second I was slipping away, the next she was hauling me. Not comforting me, but commanding me. She yelled, 'You will not die, Marine, not on my watch.' So I obeyed. He wiped his face with cuffed hands. She pulled me 400 meters. She was hit herself, bleeding, but she didn't stop. When the medevac came, she insisted they take me first. She made sure every last one of us was on board. A medic told me she nearly bled to death on that field, refusing treatment until we were clear." He fixed his gaze on Kessler. "The woman you disrespected, the one you told to remove her medal, she is the sole reason I'm here, the only reason I saw my family again. Every day I have lived since then is a gift from her." A heavy quiet filled the space. Kessler removed his glasses, pressing his fingers to his eyes. When his hands came down, his face had changed. The judge's fury was gone, replaced by raw humanity. "Chief Petty Officer Colton," Kessler said softly. Emma met his eyes. "Your Honor, I must extend my apology." The words hung in the air. From a man like him, it was a total surrender. His career was founded on being right. Now he said what the room needed to hear. "My remarks to you were without excuse. My judgment was compromised. My ego interfered with my duty, and in doing so, I failed both you and this nation." Emma offered a single, sharp nod. "Accepted, Your Honor." Just that. No triumph, no anger. She received his apology with the same steel will she'd faced his insult, stabilizing the courtroom. Kessler turned to the defense. "Miss Chen." "Yes, Your Honor. I am releasing Sergeant Ruiz on his own recognizance." "Let him go." Relief hit Sarah with such force her knees grew weak. "Thank you, Your Honor. I am also ordering a complete review of this arrest and an immediate VA screening for Sergeant Ruiz. The prosecution will need to justify incarceration over treatment." He paused. "The contempt charge is dismissed as well." His gaze found Emma. Chief Petty Officer Colton, that medal is always welcome in this courtroom." Emma was silent, merely walking back to her seat as a bailiff approached her. The bailiff leaned in. His words meant only for her. Their eyes connected, and a quiet acknowledgment cracked her stoic composure. The officer then returned to his position. If asked, he would only say, "That is a matter between myself and the chief." Danny's release took an hour. The cuffs were removed at 10:45. He stood rubbing his wrists, dazed. Sarah Chen closed her briefcase. Her mission changed. She had walked in with a lost cause, and walked out with a purpose. Admiral Callahan was waiting in the hallway. When Danny emerged, the Admiral shook his hand firmly. "How are you, son?" Callahan asked. Danny's jaw was tight. "Every day is a fight, sir. I know. It never truly ends, but the fight gets smaller. It shrinks." Danny only nodded, unable to form words. The Admiral handed him a card. "This is a private number for the Seal Family Foundation. Call them tomorrow. They will expect your call in the morning." Danny accepted the card like it was a lifeline. "And Danny," Callahan's voice grew gentler, "she crossed the city for you. Don't waste it. Understand?" "Yes, sir." With a firm hand on his shoulder, the Admiral departed. His receding footsteps sounded like a completed mission. Emma, who came out last, saw Danny standing alone, gripping the card and his belongings. He saw her approach, 10 feet of quiet separating them as the hallway emptied. The sounds of the courthouse rushed back. "You shouldn't have come," Danny said, his voice flat. "I had to." "How'd you know?" Maria called. He shut his eyes tightly. "She shouldn't have. You've already done enough for me, Emma." She moved closer. "Danny, look at me." His eyes met hers. "Remember the medevac?" "The second one?" "You told me to go." His chin began to shake. "You said we don't leave our people behind." "That's right. I believed it then, and I believe it now. This isn't a war zone. You're not bleeding out. But you're hurt. You need support. I am not leaving." Danny's lips formed a tight line as he turned to the wall. Looking at her would shatter him. "I'm a wreck, Emma," he murmured. "A total wreck. I can't sleep, can't hold a job. A loud noise sends me right back there. 3 years back, you convinced me to try the VA. They wait-listed me for 4 months. Then some doctor gave me 11 minutes and a pill bottle. 11 minutes. That's what my service was worth." "I know," she said. "The entire system is broken. I witness it constantly. But the system may have failed you, Danny. I will not." She took a folded paper from her pocket. She offered him a slip of paper. "What is this?" he murmured. "A specialist at Portsmouth Naval, Dr. James Whitfield, expert in combat trauma, TBI. He's waiting for you." Danny took it, saw the name, and held it tight. "You've already spoken to him," he said. "At 06:30, before the hearing. You can go this week." With that, Danny's composure crumbled. He turned, pressing a hand to his lips. His frame started to tremble. He'd walked through firefights and IEDs, yet a simple phone call in a corridor had undone him. Emma remained steadfast, a patient anchor, letting him have his moment. He turned back, eyes bloodshot, breath controlled. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just go. Fight for yourself like you fought for us." He gave a sharp nod. He slipped the note into his pocket next to the Admiral's card, and they left the courthouse. The morning was piercingly bright, the parking lot full. Emma thought of her own unit, short-handed and chaotic. Yet, watching Danny Ruiz walk beside her, a free man, she felt she was in the right place. At her Honda Civic, a faint smile ghosted his lips. "You're still driving this car? It runs. It was a relic a decade ago. It brought me here." He placed a hand on the car's roof, pausing. "Emma, what the judge said back there." "How does that not get to you?" She looked at him over the roof. His thoughts are his own. I know who I am. The people that count know it. Nothing else registers. She unlocked the doors. Hop in. I'm getting you breakfast, and then we're making a strategy. He lingered, the weight of the sun and the day settling on him before climbing in. The car coughed to life, its engine finding its familiar, aged rhythm. She headed for a diner by the water that served strong coffee. Danny watched the cityscape blur past in silence. Their quiet was not empty. It held the weight of what they'd endured and what they still faced. The Medal of Honor on her dashboard glinted as she made a turn. They chose a booth in the back of the diner, a deeply ingrained habit. Danny looked at his hands on the table like they were foreign objects. A waiter approached. Emma ordered them both coffee and eggs. He didn't protest. His last meal was a bag of chips. He wrapped his hands around the warm ceramic, trying to ground himself. "Walk me through what happened," Emma said, her voice clinical, signalling it was safe to talk. Danny stared down into his mug. Kelly's Bar, on Granby. "I go there sometimes. It's a quiet place." He inhaled deeply. "I was at the counter, 2 beers deep. I wasn't looking for trouble, Emma. I swear on my life. I believe you. Continue." Some college guys were being loud at the pool table. I was trying to ignore them, just wanted peace. His grip tightened on the mug. One of them came up on my 6. He put a hand on my shoulder, and He trailed off, his jaw tight. "The next thing is gone, Emma," his voice was a broken whisper. "I know how that sounds, but one moment I feel a hand, the next I'm on the ground with the cops on me and he's bleeding. I wasn't there. I was back in Helmand." "My body," it reacted. Emma's gaze was steady as she nodded. She'd heard this story before from too many others. Different bar, same misfiring circuit in the brain, a mind that read a friendly gesture as a threat, a nervous system still waging a war that had ended years ago. "How badly was he hurt?" she inquired. "Report," said a broken nose. "I don't remember throwing a punch. Did anyone see him touch me?" His laugh was devoid of humour. "Nobody. The bartender just said, 'I lost it,' unprovoked." That single word was the prosecution's entire case. "Any security cameras?" Danny glanced up. No one mentioned any. Emma was already typing on her phone. "Give me a description of the bartender." "Just some guy. Mid-30s. Sleeves of tattoos." "I'll track him down." She was already on it. "Your counsel is Sarah Chen, young but sharp. She'll find that footage. Emma, I have no money. She's court-appointed, free. You just focus on recovery. We'll handle one thing at a time." Their breakfast was served. While Emma ate, Danny just stared at his own plate. He rotated his mug, a tick reminiscent of how he used to fiddle with his dog tags. "Can I ask you something personal?" he finally said. "Always. Why are you here? Doing all this for me?" Emma put her fork down, her expression a mix of complex emotions. "You sure you want the answer?" "Yes. It's been 10 years. You got me out. You got your medal. You got the recognition. You could have just let it go and no one would blame you. So why this, Emma? This run-down diner, buying me breakfast off duty?" She thought for a second, then detached the Medal of Honor from her uniform. She laid it on the worn table, the blue ribbon a slash of colour on the scarred wood. "You see this?" "I see it. It represents one day. The official report covers 14 minutes of contact. They threw a parade for those 14 minutes, gave me this, and I keep it hidden because it makes me sick." Danny was stunned. "What are you talking about?" "I'm telling you what they left out of the report. The part where I dragged you out of that kill zone, got you on the bird, and then woke up 3 days later in a hospital in Germany. A doctor told me one of the 3 men I carried out didn't survive. The warmth fled the booth." Danny's face went pale. Who? Corporal Marcus Webb. He was just 20. I hauled him 200 meters with my leg shredded by shrapnel. I got him to the LZ, but he bled out in surgery 40 minutes later. Danny's palms flattened on the table. I never knew. Nobody told me. That's because I ordered them not to. I requested it be scrubbed from the official narrative. I wanted his family to have their grief, not to know the person who saved him also failed him. Her voice was controlled, but a fault line of a decade-old tremor ran beneath it. They gave me this for bringing 3 men home, but I lost one. Do you see now, Danny? This medal isn't about valor to me. It is Marcus Webb's face. I see the way he looked when I said we were almost there. The weak smile he tried to give me. I can still feel his grip go slack right before we loaded him. Danny sat in stunned silence as the foundation of his memory of that day crumbled. So you ask why I'm here, she went on. I'm here because Marcus is gone. I live with that failure. But you, Danny, you made it. You are here. I will not stand by and watch this country chew you up and spit you out. She clipped the medal back onto her scrubs. That's why. I'm no hero. The mission just isn't over. Danny covered his face with his hands, and the floodgates opened. It wasn't the quiet anguish from the courthouse. It was a raw, decade-old wound tearing open, a pain he never knew was there until her words exposed it. The waitress saw them and silently backed away. The cook glanced over, then returned to his grill. The other patrons became intensely interested in their meals. They understood. It was 4 full minutes before Danny composed himself. He looked up, his face wrecked, his eyes swollen. He was a man hollowed out, but relieved of some terrible burden. It wasn't gone, but it had shifted, allowing him to take his first real breath in years. I never knew about Marcus, he rasped, his voice raw. Emma, God, I'm so sorry. Don't be. Just be here now. That's all. He nodded, and finally lifted his fork. He took a bite of cold eggs, chewing like a man relearning how to live. Emma's phone vibrated. She looked at the screen. Her face instantly sharpened, her focus becoming tactical. What is it? Danny asked. Sarah Chen, your lawyer. Emma reread the text. She said the DA's office just reached out. They're proposing a deal. Misdemeanor, 6 months probation, no jail. Danny set his fork down. That's quick. Too quick. Emma's eyes narrowed. They want to make this go away before anyone asks questions. Before we file a motion to see the bar's security tapes. Before your record gets a real look. Danny seemed confused. Whose record? Emma turned the phone to him. Sarah did some digging. The kid you supposedly assaulted, Tyler Brennan, 23. He's got 2 prior assault charges. 1 dropped, 1 pleaded out. And his father is a city councilman. The information landed like a punch to the gut. Danny scanned the text, his brain struggling to connect the dots. His father's a councilman, he echoed. Patrick Brennan, from District 4, sits on the Public Safety Committee, which gives him sway over the cops, the DA. All of it. Danny sank back as the pieces clicked into place. So the bartender changed his story. It appears that way. And the police never bothered looking for camera footage. The evidence suggests it. And the bail. $50,000 for a first offence. That wasn't just a tough-on-crime judge, was it? Emma laid her phone down. I can't prove it, but Sarah's looking into it. Danny's jaw hardened. The grief from moments before was solidifying into something new. It wasn't quite rage, but it was close, the cold fury of a man who fought for his country only to have its system twisted for a politician's brat. They figured I'd accept the plea, Danny said, his voice flat. They wanted me to take the charge and vanish, so no one would ever find out their son started it. And the father's role in the cover-up would stay hidden. So that's their gambit, Emma confirmed. Without the Admiral, I'd be locked up, unable to make a $50,000 bond, waiting for a state lawyer to deal me away. Precisely. Danny's eyes closed. When he opened them, the broken man had vanished, replaced by a harder, more focused version of himself. "I'm turning down their offer," Danny declared. "Good. I want that recording. I want everyone to know the truth. And I need his father to pay for what he's done." Emma raised her mug. "Then that's the new mission." Her phone vibrated. Not Sarah. An unknown number. She took the call. Chief Colton. "You're on speaker. Robert Harmon, Virginia pilot. I got a tip about the events in Judge Kessler's court. My source says a decorated vet was being framed before a Navy admiral stepped in. Is that accurate?" Emma's eyes met Danny's. He didn't flinch. "A new player on the board." "Who's your source?" Emma asked. "My source is confidential, but the story is running either way. I'd prefer to have your side of it." Emma lowered the phone, feeling the weight of the choice. She had always moved in the shadows, letting the Navy shield her, refusing every interview to avoid the spotlight. The mission always mattered more than the credit. But this wasn't about her now. It was for Danny, for a corrupt system, and for a powerful man burying his crimes. Sometimes hiding isn't an option. "Mr. Harmon, you'll get your statement, on my terms. Name them. This story isn't about me. It's about a Marine veteran wrongly jailed, whose rights were stripped to shield a councilman's son. If you write that story, I'll give you everything. Make this about my medal, and we're through." A beat of silence. "Understood. Can we meet tomorrow? I'll contact you with the details." She hung up, her eyes finding Danny's again. "Are you sure about this?" "No," Emma confessed. "But I'm sure about you, and for now, that's enough." She dropped a $20 bill on the table as they walked into the bright 11:45 a.m. light. 6 hours ago it had been just another day. Now it was chaos. She dropped Danny at his rundown apartment building. He got out, then leaned back inside the car. "Emma?" "Yeah." "That call sign, Iron Widow. You know the story they told, right?" She stared forward. "Because I was the only one who made it back." "No, not that part," Danny corrected. "It's because you were an absolute terror in the best way. They said combatants were ordered to retreat on sight. It wasn't about your strength. You were like a force of nature. Fire, wounds, direct orders, nothing stopped you from getting to your people." Emma's knuckles turned white on the wheel. Her voice was quiet, strained. "Marcus Webb saw me differently. He would tell you to let that go. You know he would." Their gazes locked for a second. For a brief moment the Iron Widow was gone. Only Emma remained, a woman shouldering a burden she could never set aside. She'd saved so many, but lost the one that mattered most, living a life of atonement for a failure that was never hers. "Call Dr. Whitfield in the morning," she ordered. "I will. And the Admiral's Foundation. They'll cover rent, legal, everything. I will. And Danny." "Yeah? Get a real meal tonight, not some junk from a gas station." A small smile touched his lips. "Yes, ma'am." He backed away. She drove, watching him in her rear view. His walk was steadier, his shoulders back. 3 blocks later she parked and cut the engine. She dropped her forehead to the steering wheel, letting the day's immense pressure crash down. Marcus, Danny's pain, the judge's contempt, the Admiral's save, the reporter, the councilman, the rot in the system, her own 4 a.m. demons, it all came rushing in. She breathed, counted to 10, straightened up. She put the car in drive and continued on. Emma Colleton knew combat. She'd been hit overseas. She'd dragged men twice her weight out of kill zones. She'd lost a man on a medevac, received a medal she loathed, and built a fortress around her life. After a decade of peace, the walls were starting to crumble. A blocked number flashed on her screen, declined. 2 minutes later, it called again. Then a third. By the time she got to the hospital, 7 different unknown numbers had tried to reach her. Her phone buzzed the 9th time. A leak. Someone in that courtroom had lit a match, and now the world was coming for the Iron Widow. Emma silenced the screen, killing the device. She threw it on the seat, got out, and strode into the hospital to start her shift. There were patients to see, vitals to check, meds to give, charts to close, a duty she'd held for 4 years. The same duty she would perform tomorrow. Because Emma Colton did not yield, even when the world cracked beneath her. The medal was a constant presence on her uniform. By 1800 hours, the story had gone wild. Emma knew nothing, her phone dead in a locker while she worked. Outside the quiet of Norfolk General, the situation was turning explosive. Sarah Chen was first to see how big it was getting. She was at her desk, pushing food around her plate and reviewing Danny's case, when her co-worker Marcus walked in. "Chen, you were in Kessler's courtroom today, right?" "Yes." "Why?" "Check Twitter." Sarah opened the app. The top of her feed made her stomach drop. Someone had posted 17 seconds of audio. It started with Kessler's order. Remove that and cut off after Emma's quiet reply, "It is authorized, Your Honor." A burner account posted it at 11:15. By noon, 10,000 shares, 50,000 by 3 o'clock. By 6, it was a national story with its own hashtag. Sarah shoved her dinner aside. She grabbed her desk phone and called Danny. He picked up on the 4th ring. "Hello? Sarah Chen, your lawyer. Have you been online?" "No, I stay away from it." "Good. Now listen. A recording from your hearing was leaked. It's everywhere. My office is drowning in calls from the press about you and Chief Colton. I've already heard from 3 major networks." Danny said nothing for a moment. "How bad?" "It's national news bad. CNN ran a story an hour ago. Fox has a segment tonight. The Virginia Pilot is publishing a piece. It's that reporter, Robert Harmon, the one Emma spoke with. That's the one. His piece drops at 8. Danny, I have to ask you, do you want to make a statement?" "No." "I understand, but this kind of attention is a double-edged sword. It could be your salvation or your downfall. The public supports you and Emma. For Kessler, this recording is a nightmare. But if Brennan's people seize the narrative, this will get ugly." Danny's voice hardened. "Ugly how?" "They will paint you as unhinged. They'll claim Emma was a publicity stunt. They will say you're using your service record to get sympathy for an assault. I've seen them do this before, Danny. They have unlimited cash and 0 conscience. What do you need from me? Just go dark. Talk to no reporters. Stay offline. Don't answer any number you don't know. I'll run interference. I'm getting the security tape from the pub tomorrow. If it shows what I think it does, Brennan's entire case evaporates." "And if it's been erased?" Sarah paused. It was a tactical query from a man trained for deception. "Then we adjust," she said. "We'll deal with that problem if it comes." She ended the call and tried Emma's cell. Voicemail. A second call, same result. At 19:30, an exhausted Emma walked out of Norfolk General. Her feet ached. The last 8 hours were a blur of medicine, dressing wounds, charting vitals, calming a man before surgery, and consoling a woman whose husband was now in the ICU. This was her purpose. This was the life she chose. She took out her phone and powered it on. After a 30-second boot, the screen erupted. 23 calls, 41 texts, 14 voicemails. The phone vibrated violently for a solid minute. The phone's frantic noise shattered the parking garage's quiet. 4 texts from Maria Ruiz, 6 urgent calls from Sarah Chen, One sharp command from Admiral Callahan, "Call me, now." 3 voicemails from blocked numbers. And hidden in the flood, a text from a colleague. "Emma, is that you on the recording? It's gone viral." She opened Twitter as a guest. The clip was the first thing in the feed. She hit play, hearing the tiny, distorted sound of her own voice. 5 words of defiance against a judge who challenged her service. She shut the app, her frame leaning against the cool steel of her car. She covered her face with one hand, taking a slow, steadying breath. This was exactly the spotlight she'd spent a decade avoiding. The fame she had dodged, the past she had tried to bury with a piece of metal, and it was all loose now. Not by her choice, but because one phone captured a moment that had sparked a firestorm. She dialed Callahan first. He answered on one ring. "Emma?" "Admiral, I saw it. I figured you had. Now listen to me. This will get much worse. Congress is calling, and so is the Secretary of the Navy's office. We've already lost control of this. Kessler faces public outrage. They demand his resignation." "I never sought this attention, sir. You have it now. That means we control the story. Your reticence leaves a space the media and politicians will race to define. A few facts might surface, but most will be warped." Emma was still, processing the weight of his words. "There's another layer," Callahan added. "I investigated Councilman Patrick Brennan, and—" "Emma, this is bigger. His son, Tyler, has a record. 2 prior arrests, both times the charges just vanished. In each case, the police were ordered to back off, and the prosecutor's office lost the files. This is his pattern. Danny is merely the latest." Emma's hand clenched the phone. "Your source?" "An old contact inside NCIS. Entirely off record. He's been observing Brennan for some time, for a separate case. Something much larger. Danny's arrest just exposed it all. How large? Not for an insecure channel. I require your trust." "Can you give me that?" "Always, sir." "Good. We have 2 missions. First, contact Sarah Chen. Second, you give Harmon a formal statement tomorrow. Restrict your account to the courtroom events, exclusively. Brennan stays out of it. Sarah will lead that charge." "Understood." "And Emma, one final thing." "Sir? Your actions for that young Marine today showed a level of valor I rarely witness, even in combat zones. Never allow yourself to forget it." She ended the transmission, watching the constant current of medical staff move past. Every one of them was fighting a personal war, shouldering an invisible load. At 8:15 p.m. she phoned Sarah Chen, who answered instantly. "Emma, thank heaven. I've been trying to reach you. I was on duty. You've seen the media?" "I've seen it all. The Admiral just gave me the rundown." He mentioned Brennan, the entire pattern. Sarah's tone hardened. "Did he tell you of the other victims? He said their cases were erased." "A history of obstruction." "It is a total cesspool, Emma," Sarah said grimly. "I've been researching for hours. Tyler Brennan's first offense was 2 years ago. A pub fight. He broke a man's jaw. The case was dismissed for insufficient proof, despite video and 2 witnesses. Last year he assaulted a woman. He was booked and released in under 2 hours. Her request for a protective order was denied. The charge was reduced to a minor infraction. His fine was $500. Emma clenched her eyelids shut. "And the victim?" "She left Norfolk some months later. I located her in Richmond. I spoke with her today." Sarah's voice had an almost imperceptible tremor. "She just collapsed, Emma." She said the system treated her like she was the criminal. Brennan's crew tried to buy her silence. When she declined, her rental agreement was suddenly cancelled. Her employer got a city complaint about her work. They effectively forced her out of the city. That's the truth of it. Her name is Jessica Torres, and she's agreed to speak for Danny. The sheer, savage reality of it all hit Emma like a physical force. This wasn't a single misdeed. It was a methodical engine built to wreck people. Sarah, that security tape from the pub, how do we get it? The court order is being processed, but there's a complication. The business is owned by a front company. The deeds lead back to a lawyer whose primary client is Patrick Brennan. A cold shock of insight hit Emma. Brennan owns the place. Through a proxy, yes. So the bartender is his man, not a credible witness. And that footage corroborates Danny's entire story. If they deleted it, it's a felony. We have them boxed in. Listen, Emma. This is turning into a brawl. Brennan has money and power. He'll run us over. The moment he smells a threat, he'll strike. Then let him come, she said. There was a pause. Do you realize what you sound like? What? Like a person who's been waiting 10 years for a war. She said nothing. He was right. Her apartment was dark and quiet when she got home, and she stiffened when her phone buzzed. Danny's name appeared on the screen. I saw the reports, he said, his voice tight. It's gone viral. I know. They're showing your Medal of Honor photo. You look like a kid. I was, Danny. They've started a defense fund. Emma, it's already hit $40,000. She stared at her phone, aghast. 40,000. In just 6 hours, he said. Sarah said it was 12,000 an hour ago. Now it's 40. Emma sank onto her couch. $40,000 from complete strangers for a person they knew only from a 17-second video. People are inherently good, Danny, she whispered. They see a wrong and they have to act. So what now? Sarah will manage the fund. It pays your legal team. The rest will aid other veterans. Right. After a moment, he said. I called Dr. Whitfield. Emma was instantly alert. You did? I couldn't wait any longer. I made the call, left a message. Solid move, Danny. That's good. And the foundation the Admiral pointed to? I phoned them. The woman, Linda, Emma, she was amazing. Said they'd manage everything. That I wasn't on my own? His voice wavered. It's been so long since I've heard that. It's the truth. Emma's voice was like steel. And you will hear it more often. She could hear his breathing, the fractured control of a man at his limit. There's something else, Danny admitted. Last night, before he attacked me, I was just sitting, thinking of giving up. The admission pulled the air from the room. Her hand on the phone became a vice. Danny. Not a real plan, just tallying the costs, wondering if it would even matter. Danny, I need you to listen to me. No, just let me say this. I was in that dark place when he came at me. Instinct took over. In that cell, I thought it was over. Then you appeared. You were just there, Emma, wearing that medal. You pulled me out of the inferno, not just from the legal trouble. You saved me from myself, just like 10 years ago. How could she respond to that? A sob caught in her throat. Alone in the gloom, tears came for the first time in an age. The man she had saved from one battlefield was saying she had just saved him from another. Danny, she ordered, her voice unyielding, you will phone Dr. Whitfield tomorrow. That is an order from your chief. Do you copy? Copy. And you will always accept my calls. It could be 4 a.m., you answer. I will. Now hear this. You're going to make it. You survived one war. You survived last night. You are still standing. A long silence. Then a quiet whisper. Iron Widow. Yeah. That's rescue number 3. Don't make me go for a 4th. A flicker of a smile touched her lips. I'll believe that when I see it, Marine. She hung up, the phone dropping from her hand as her face became dry. At 10:15, a text from Sarah appeared. Subpoena is a go. Video at 9 a.m. tomorrow. If it's missing, I'm filing for evidence tampering on Brennan. Fund is at 62,000. Jessica Torres is driving in from Richmond to give a deposition. Her exact words, "That family has to be brought down." Emma put the phone down, went to her bedroom, and slid a drawer open. She held up the velvet box. The Medal of Honor gleamed inside, a piece of hardware a judge called a mockery, an Admiral held as hallowed, and a Marine saw as a lifeline. She shut the lid. Tomorrow she would put it on. Tomorrow she would enter the hurricane. But for tonight she just sat on her bed in the blackness. She gave herself permission to be just Emma. Not the icon, not the chief, just a woman, doing the single thing she was built for, answering the call regardless of the price. The time showed 10:32. Across the city, Danny Ruiz looked at his ceiling, a doctor's number in one hand, an Admiral's in the other. He simply continued to breathe, swearing the next day would be different. In Richmond, Jessica Torres packed with unsteady hands for the 3-hour journey to face the family that had destroyed her life. In a press office, Robert Harmon was perfecting a lead story for the Virginia Pilot. And on a large Norfolk estate, a furious Patrick Brennan was battling his attorney, enraged that a 17-second video had caused a national crisis. None of them would rest, knowing the war from Courtroom B was just the first skirmish. Sarah Chen pulled up to Kelly's at 8:55 the following morning, subpoena ready, a deputy behind her. The pub was chained, the entrance secured. Her first raps on the door went unanswered. She struck the wood again. "Sarah Chen, from the Public Defender's Office. I have a judicial order for your surveillance tapes." "Open up." Nothing. The deputy moved forward. "Ma'am, I can summon a locksmith." The door groaned aside. It was the bartender from the tape, mid-30s, tattooed arm, just as Danny had recalled. His eyes were inflamed. "I know why you're here," he rasped. Sarah held out the order. "Then you know I need Tuesday's recordings from 9 p.m. to midnight." The bartender stared at the document as if it were a live grenade. "There's a problem." Sarah felt her stomach clench. "What sort of problem?" "The owner phoned me late last night. He ordered me to erase it." "The whole thing." The deputy's hand moved towards his sidearm. Sarah gave a small shake of her head. "And did you?" The man's eyes moved between them, then to his own hands. His face showed an inner conflict, the same she had seen on the bailiff. "No," he said, his voice resolute. "I did not." Sarah let out a slow breath. "May I have it? I have something better." He threw the door open. "Let me show you the truth. My official statement was a fabrication, and the guilt is crushing me. He was Chris Mullally, 34, bartender at Kelly's for 3 years. He was aware of the Front Corporation and its real owner. He knew when Brennan's son arrived the bill was erased and any issues were ignored. It was policy. But Chris's brother was a veteran of the Iraq War. He had returned a broken man, startled by sudden sounds, unemployable, living out of his car before the VA intervened. The news report, that audio, and the knowledge he helped frame a decorated Marine shattered his resolve. He brought up the security footage. 4 crystal-clear angles with perfect sound. Sarah saw the screen confirm every detail Danny had shared. Danny sitting alone, Tyler Brennan advancing on him. Brennan's hand clamping onto Danny's shoulder, pulling him off the bar stool. Danny's reaction was pure reflex, lasting less than 3 seconds. Tyler was on the ground, holding his face, while Danny stood above, his expression anything but hostile. He appeared horrified. A man ripped from his own skin. "That's it," Chris murmured. "The kid initiated it. Your man defended himself." When the police arrived, the kid's friend phoned his father. 20 minutes later, I got a call with my revised story. Sarah faced the deputy. "Secure this evidence. Every view, every timestamp." Understood, ma'am. She glanced back at Chris. Will you testify to this under oath? Chris touched the tattoo on his forearm, an eagle, globe, and anchor. His brother wore the same Marine Corps emblem. Yes, he stated firmly, I will. Sarah's call connected at 9:32. Emma was already driving on her second ever personal day. We have it! Sarah's voice buzzed with excitement. The footage is undeniable. It confirms Tyler initiated the contact. A clear case of self-defense. The bartender is cooperating and will testify. Brennan's team instructed him to lie. Emma's grip tightened on the steering wheel. And the directive to erase the footage? Chris Mallory was contacted at 11:47 p.m. last night by David Park, Brennan's attorney, and directed to wipe the servers. Chris has immunity, but that call constitutes obstruction. I'm filing to add Patrick Brennan and David Park to a criminal probe today. The DA is in turmoil. This is a disaster for their office. Mitchell Hayes, the prosecutor, was the one who offered the plea. I informed him about the tape. A 10-second pause was followed by him stammering about superiors. He was complicit. That makes him vulnerable, and vulnerable men slip up. When Emma arrived at the Virginia Pilot Building, Robert Harmon was there. He stood tall, in his 50s, with greying hair and a press credential clipped to his jacket. He offered his hand as she neared. Chief Colton, I appreciate you making time. Let's be quick, Emma replied. I have another engagement. In a small meeting room, Harmon pointed to a recorder and asked for consent. She agreed. Walk me through yesterday, he began. Emma recounted it all. Maria's panicked call, the rush to the court, the judge's disdain for her award, and the Admiral's support. She detailed Danny's service, his wounds, and the system that abandoned him. She described the altercation, the false accusation, and the councilman's son's lies. She withheld just one thing, the complete history of Marcus Webb. That burden was hers alone. Harmon was completely engrossed. After she finished, he stopped the recorder, his gaze fixed on her. This is off the record, he stated, but in 27 years covering conflict and government, I have never encountered someone like you. I am not remarkable, Mr. Harmon. Respectfully, ma'am, that is the first dishonest thing you have said. The article broke at noon, dominating the website and the paper's front page. Harmon was faithful to his promise, focusing the story on Danny's plight, not her heroism. The headline was stark. Marine veteran falsely accused. New video implicates councilman's son in attack. Emma's name was buried in the text, her medal mentioned even deeper. It was about a warrior wronged by the institution meant to safeguard him. By 1 p.m., the story went national. At 2, television networks picked it up. By 3, Norfolk PD initiated an internal review, and at 3:30, the DA rescinded all charges. Sarah reached Danny at 3:45. He was in Dr. Whitfield's office at Portsmouth Naval, following Emma's strict instructions. Danny, it is done. The charges have been dropped. You are cleared. Danny's knuckles were pale against his phone. He sat in a cold, antiseptic chair with the quiet fellowship of other veterans, all waiting. Please repeat that, Danny whispered. They are gone. The footage proved your innocence. You are free, Danny, utterly free. He bent forward, hand pressed to his forehead, his eyes shut tight. A nearby veteran, a woman with a prosthetic limb, saw the silent battle he was winning. A solid hand on his shoulder offered camaraderie, not pity. He accepted it. Thank you, he murmured into the receiver. Sarah, I am so grateful. It wasn't my doing. Thank Emma, the Admiral, and Chris Mallory's conscience. Doctor, Whitfield is ready for you, Danny. Don't leave. I'm staying put. At 4 o'clock, Patrick Brennan, flanked by his lawyer David Park, denied everything on television from his home, the fight, The cover-up. His presence at the scene. He presented it as a politically motivated smear against his family. The presser lasted 11 excruciating minutes. At 4:12, a reporter cut in. "Councilman, can you comment on your lawyer's 11:47 p.m. call to the bartender, telling him to erase security tapes?" Brennan went white. He shot a look at Park, who looked equally blindsided. "That is an unfounded allegation," Park sputtered. "I have the phone records," she countered. Brennan spun and left the podium. Park was right behind him, their hurried exit captured by 3 major networks. By 5 o'clock, the clip was everywhere. By 6, Brennan was put on administrative leave. By 7, the Bar Association was investigating Park. By 8, Internal Affairs had confiscated all files related to Tyler Brennan. Jessica Torres came to Norfolk from Richmond at 4:30 that afternoon with a single bag and a file she had guarded for more than a year, certain of its eventual significance. Sarah met her at the law firm. Jessica seemed fragile, clutching the folder. When Sarah confirmed she was sure, Jessica replied, "The woman in court with the medal, her strength. If she has that courage, so can I." Sarah examined the documents. "You are stronger than you know," she said at last. "We will get justice for you." Her formal statement was on file by 6:15 p.m. That night, Kevin Marsh, a victim from 2 years back, got a phone call. His willingness to come forward sealed the case. Emma, on shift, was unaware of the progress. She reported for duty at 7, put on clean scrubs, and pinned the Medal of Honor to her uniform. The charge nurse saw it, but said nothing. Another nurse gave her a hug. A third murmured, "We never knew." Emma just nodded. At 8:45 in room 312, her phone buzzed. A text from Admiral Callahan. "NCIS is now formally investigating Brennan, the whole thing. Obstruction and corruption. They are looking at federal crimes." "You set off a landslide, Emma." She put her phone aside and checked on her patient, a 68-year-old veteran named Arthur Phelps. "You okay, kiddo?" he asked, pausing his story. "I am fine. Arthur, is your breathing easier?" "Much. Did you see that story about the nurse with the medal? Pulled 3 Marines out of a firefight, took 3 bullets, and kept on going. 3 hits. Astounding," he continued. "It is," Emma said quietly. His gaze sharpened, moving from her expression to the award on her uniform. Understanding dawned. "Dear Lord," he whispered, "that's you." Her silence was all the confirmation he needed. She squeezed his hand lightly. "Get some rest." As she turned to leave, the old soldier's arms snapped up in a perfect salute, which he held until she was out of sight. 3 weeks on, Danny Ruiz was at his 4th therapy appointment. He had a place to live and a support network. The gloom was lifting. "I feel compelled to build something," he told Dr. Whitfield, "for all the people who fall through the cracks, like I nearly did." "What are you thinking of?" the doctor inquired. "A crisis line, so a veteran in a tight spot knows who to reach out to." Dr. Whitfield beamed. "A new purpose for you, Danny." It felt exactly like that. He phoned Emma later that evening. She was staring at a dark television screen. "I am creating a support line," Danny said without preamble, "for veterans at their breaking point." Emma set aside her meal. "Tell me more." He talked for 20 minutes, his voice alive with a passion she hadn't heard before the war. He finished his proposal. Emma's response was immediate. "I am in." "Seriously?" A genuine laugh escaped him. "I find that hard to believe." "Don't. I keep my word. I am aware you do. Emma, it's for him. The web line. In Marcus's honor." Emma audibly gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Danny," she managed to say, "he would be so proud." "I know he would. The web line went live 6 months later. Danny operated it from a small room, manning one phone for 12-hour days. He had 3 volunteers within a month, 20 within 3. The service was soon handling 200 calls each week. Patrick Brennan was federally indicted. David Park was disbarred. Tyler Brennan was sentenced to 18 months of probation. Jessica Torres and Kevin Marsh launched a civil suit. Judge Kessler received an official censure, a first in the county for a decade, though he retained his position. 3 months later, Kessler completed a military sensitivity training program. He was a different judge to the Norfolk legal community. He grew quiet, more deliberate, and interrupted witnesses far less. Admiral Thomas Callahan retired after 8 more months. His farewell speech focused not on war, but on a nurse and a Marine. His greatest pride in service was standing with a hero in court, one who deserved to never fight a battle alone. Within a year, Sarah Chen made senior public defender, never accepting a plea at face value. A photo of a decorated nurse sat on her desk, a reminder of true strength, and Emma Colton reported back to the hospital. She ignored all media and book offers. Her day began at Norfolk General at 7 a.m., a calming force for patients. The medal honored Marcus Webb, who died in her arms in Afghanistan. A year on, she lay awake at 4 a.m. In the stillness, she clutched a warm mug, her phone silent. The medals box was in a drawer, the award itself on her uniform. She drank, and after 10 years saw Marcus smiling in her mind, not dying. His hope lived on. She had protected it. Her eyes opened. She finished her coffee and met the dawn. Her patients were waiting. A promise from Hellman's dust remained. Answer, hold, carry. Fate makes some heroes. The rarest choose it daily in quiet acts. Found in quiet corridors and emergency calls, Emma Colton embodied this heroism. She was, and is, that hero. The Iron Widow served without an audience.